Hi, thanks for purchasing and taking part in these online yoga sessions that I'm providing. So just a couple of bits of guidance when you're doing this at home, making sure that the area that you're using to do your yoga in is as tidy as it can be, or if there are any objects like a coffee table or a sofa that can't be moved, or a lampshade above you, just making sure that you're aware of where those objects are and you're adjusting as you need to. Also as well, make sure that you're feeling okay before doing yoga. So if you're feeling ill at all, or you've got a headache, cold, or whatever it might be, if you're not feeling quite right, then maybe delaying doing your yoga practice until later in the day or another day. Take all of my instructions that I give you as guidance, so if it doesn't feel right or if there's any pain or discomfort, then only coming into the posture to a point that it's comfortable for you, or you can choose not to come into the posture, or you can choose to take a break as you need to. I will offer options and modifications to some of the postures, but if they don't quite work for you, then feel free to make further adjustments that seem sensible for your own body. So thank you for joining in and enjoy.
Hi, hope you're well. So this is a short video for those of you that are maybe in a sedentary job. So you're either sat at a desk for long periods of the day, maybe driving for long periods of the day, and you're noticing that you're maybe getting some back pain, or you've got really tight hamstrings and calf muscles and thighs and hip flexors. So I just wanted to start off with some, some simpler movements. So we're not jumping straight into like downward dog or sitting cross-legged, which will probably be very difficult for you to do. But there's some simpler things that we can do to kind of get the ball rolling. So I'm sat in a chair. One of the things that is quite helpful to do is to do some simple breathing exercises, and they're straightforward, they're calming for your mind. They also help tell your nervous system that you're safe and that it can relax. So often if you start to throw yourselves into positions that you wouldn't normally do, your body and your nervous system will be going, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And kind of go into a bit more of a defensive mode, making it a little bit more challenging to do the movement than what you had intended to do. So a nice way to start that, or something that you can do before we move the body, is some simple breathing exercises. So what we're going to do for this is having a longer exhale than the inhale. And how we do that, or how we know it's longer, is we can count in our head as we inhale, and we can count as we exhale. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 2 and breathe out for a count of 4. So what that means is that, so in your head, you'll start to breathe in, you'll count 1, 2, but you're breathing in for that count of 2. You're not breathing in for the count of 1 and then holding your breath for 1 and then breathing out. So we're trying to make our breathe in or breath out last for that count of 2, breathing in, and that breath out lasting for the count of 4, breathing out. So if you're sat in a comfortable position, so I'll give us the cues first. So I'm going to say breathe in, 2, breathe out, 3, 2, 3, 4. So me saying breathe in is like saying 1. So I will say breathe in, 2, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. So just to make sure we're all on the same breath to start. If we take a breath in and out, so we'll breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, 2, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. 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 So you kind of get the idea. So if I was doing it to myself, I'd be So it's really about getting that exhale for a longer period of time than the inhale. Feel free to adjust the count if you want. Say, for example, if you're breathing out, if you're doing your breath out and you're not quite reaching 4, or it feels like it's a bit of a strain, then maybe go to 3. Or if you wanted to, if you're somebody that wanted to breathe in a little bit quicker, you might say breathe in 2, 3, 4, breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as long as that exhale is longer than the inhale, you can choose the numbers that you use. So you might do that breathing exercise for a minute or 2, or longer if you're comfortable to do it for longer. It's very similar technique to what you would use if you're meditating. So you could also close your eyes and you could do that counted breath. And after a period of time, you could let the count go and just go back to normal breathing and stay in your meditation state with your eyes closed. Or you could just, come to a stop anyway. So you would do that longer breath out breathing for maybe a minute or 2. And we'll still be sat in our chair. So what we do from here is interlace the fingers in front. We take the knuckles up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to come over from one side and then come back, and then extend up again and then over to the other side. And come back, extend up and over, and then back and extend up and over. And then we'll come back and bring the hands down. So when we're doing a lot of the yoga postures, they're very much focused around what we're doing with the spine. So here we're doing a lateral flexion of the spine from one side to the other, and also that movement where, and it's not a common movement that we would do during the day. It's not like when you're out and about, you're often doing this kind of movement. And with that, when we don't do the movements, we get tightness around the chest and these muscles supporting the obliques and the chest muscles, the chest wall. And often that can contribute to shallow breathing. So another adaptation to that lateral flexion movement that we could do is we could come up and then come over and just hold here, take a deep breath, breathe out, come back to center, extend up and over, deep breath, breathe out and come back. So when you're doing that deep breath in, say for example this side, you should be a little bit more aware of feeling of stretch here. So we're in this stretch position anyway, if you like, and then we're breathing in, so we're stretching that even more, and then we come back and we can. So that's something we can do with side stretching. There's one side to the other. If you struggle, so for me, I've got my hands almost above my head. If your shoulders don't allow you to get to that point, then you're maybe just coming up to a point where you feel some resistance and then over to one side or the other. And failing that, if it's uncomfortable on the shoulders, you might have had an injury or recent surgery. We can have the hands on the hips, or even have the hands down hanging down by the side of the body. And with my hand, I can even reach for this leg and maybe encourage. So I'm just reaching for the leg and maybe just pulling just gently to encourage this side stretch. But if the arms will come up, then you'll get a little bit more out of this movement. So another thing that we can do from the chair, and I've got a yoga strap, or it could be a belt, or off your trousers, dressing gown, something like that. I'm just going to turn sideways on so that you can see what I'm doing. So if you do have tightness in the back of the legs, straightening the leg from a seated position should be something that's doable for most people. So we can take the strap, we're hooking it around the foot. So this leg that I've got in front of my left leg is either straight or with a slight bend. I've got slight hypermobility in this leg, so if I straighten it, you might be able to see it curves, I guess you might say, the wrong way. If you do have a little bit of hypermobility, just take a slight bend. So we're going to hold the strap, and I'm going to use it to encourage my body forwards, which will help me stretch this hamstring and calf muscle. And when I'm on the chair, you want to be sort of quite near the front of the edge of the chair, so your sitting bones, you feel the bony part in your bum is on this edge of the chair. So I'm holding the strap. So I'm going to extend up. So we always do this in yoga. We're always extending up, a little like a moment ago where I was reaching up, knuckles up. So we lengthen the spine. So it means we get the most out of the movement. So I'm extending up. So I'm bringing my chest forward, and by leading with the chest, it helps me keep this length. And as I'm getting to about this point, I can feel the feeling of stretch in the back of the leg. And then where I'm not going to come forwards anymore, I'm just going to allow the head to hang. And maybe I'm just gently pulling on the strap, or maybe I can hold onto the leg. So if you've got really tight muscles, the strap is really helpful just to encourage the forward fold, but maybe you can reach the leg, allow the head to hang. So in this position, I can feel the sensation of stretch or resistance in the back of the leg. I'm just encouraging my body to relax. So I'm imagining it relaxing. I'm imagining my head is sinking down. You could even do those breaths here. Deep breath in, a longer breath out. And then come up. And then again, you could come into that stretch again. So we're extending up, lengthening the spine, bringing the chest forwards, walking the hands down, allow the head to hang. Steady breath. So you notice the feeling of stretch. It does feel a little bit uncomfortable, but if you can just sit with it for a few breaths, and then slowly come up. So we do that on both sides. So this is a bit of an alternative to a lot of people would say about yoga, about being able to touch your toes. So this is a different version of that action, and I'll show you another one from a standing position. And by the way, if you can't touch your toes, it's not a reason not to do yoga, it's a reason to do it. So something I always hear come up. Can't do yoga, can't touch my toes. So we extend up, bring the chest forwards, head hangs, shuffle the hands down, and again feeling that sensation of stretch, resistance in the back of the leg. I'm focusing on my breathing to distract me away from the feeling of discomfort, and I'm imagining my body relaxing. And then I'll slowly come back up. So you don't necessarily have to use a strap, but it can help. And whenever you're using a strap in yoga, there can be a tendency to sort of use all of your upper body strength to pull your body forwards. We don't really want to do that. We don't want to be aggressive. Sometimes what I'll suggest is holding the strap with thumb and index finger. So you have less strength by just holding there. So we're just encouraging the body to come forwards. So another thing we can do at home is, so this is a windowsill, could be a worktop, or it could also be the back of the chair for stretching the hamstrings. So I'm placing the hands on the could be a worktop, the window ledge, and I'm starting to walk back. And then I'm allowing my chest to sink down, and I can start to notice tightness in the backs of the legs. So again, keeping the hands on here, allowing that upper body to relax as best you can. Also, you'll get a stretch into the armpits and the shoulders here. And I'm just going to come back up. So when you're walking back, you'll notice you'll reach a point where you start to feel a bit of resistance, and that might be more in this position as opposed to where I was further back. So you'll get to that point, keeping the hands on the work surface, trying to allow the body to relax, trying to allow the weight of the upper body to come forward, so folding forwards at the waist. And then we'll come back up. So we can also do that hamstring stretch from standing. We can take a step back with one foot. We place the hands on, and then, so I'm leading with the chest, keeping the length in the upper body. I'm starting to feel that sensation of stretch or resistance. Allow the head to hang, and it might be you either keep your hands on the window ledge or maybe you're comfortable to take the hands down. And again, we're just pausing here, we're imagining the body relaxing. And then coming back up. We always do the same on both sides, and you might notice a difference on one side to the other. Often from driving and being right-handed, we're tighter down the right side of the body, so the hamstrings, the calf muscles, shoulders. So I'm bringing my chest forwards, allowing my head to hang. Take the hands down. And then we'll come up. So with all of these stretches, you'll all have that point of resistance, or that point of where you start to feel the stretch. So we're just trying to sort of hover around that zone. You might come out of it for a moment and then come back into it. So that's the seated side stretch that we did, that lateral flexion we can do from standing. So again, we can interlace the knuckles, press up, come over, then come back and up and over. We can take that deep breath and out, coming back up, extending up and over, deep breath, and then out as you come back up, arms coming down. For the stretching the calf muscles, when you're doing the forward fold that I've just done with hands on the window ledge, that leg in front, you will notice the calf muscle stretching there as well. Another thing we can do with our strap is draw so I'm just gently pulling on the foot, and you'll notice a bit of a stretch in the calf muscle there, but you'll notice it more coming forwards. So usually a lot of these forward folds, we're stretching both the calf muscle and the hamstring. Another muscle that's a common challenge for those that are seated a lot is the thighs, the hip flexors, so the muscles that come across the top of the thigh and also go over the hip fold. So it's a bit of a challenging one to stretch, something that we can do from a chair. So I'm taking my foot back, so hopefully you can see I've got the toes extended long that way, and for a lot of people coming into that position can be really challenging or very uncomfortable. And again, it's one of those things, so if you're driving a lot, you've got this foot action, so we're shortening or creating tightness across the tops of the feet. So what we can do is I've got this, it's a yoga bolster, and I can rest my foot on the top of that, so it'll support it, gives it something to press into without having the toes pressed right back. And then from here, I'm lowering myself back. And the more you come back, you should notice the feeling of stretch on this thigh muscle, this hip flexor. So for me, I can feel it, but my back I can't go any further back because of the back of the chair. So if I wanted to go further back, I might have a different type of chair, or I'm just shuffling myself round. So I've got my foot on there, and then I'm leaning back. It is an awkward one to stretch. This is a modified position, so if I was doing it in a more of a yoga style, I'd be in this position, walking the hands back, lowering down. And I know when I first started doing yoga, this would have been impossible because of the discomfort across the tops of the feet. So one of the things you can do to alleviate that is roll the blanket, rest the tops of the feet on there, and then we're coming back and lowering down. Even if you come into this position, or if you kind of got your feet on top and then you're bringing your bum back, but it won't quite reach the heels, and that's due to tightness in the muscles and the soft tissue around the knee. And we don't, using the chair is not enough. We need a bit more challenge, but we can't get right down onto the ground. You can use your yoga bolster, or maybe you can grab the cushions and pillows from around the house or off the sofa. And then we can, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that on there, and that's going to be my seat. So many props. So that's rolled for the tops of the feet. And then I'm just starting to lower back. So I'm starting to feel the stretch on the thighs. I don't have to come my bum doesn't have to come all the way down, but I'm sitting, so it's not like I'm hovering up. And then I can start to walk my hands back and lower back. And I can feel that in my hip flexors. Sometimes we often have to get some movement in a muscle or a bit of stretch in the muscle to allow us to get to the target muscle. So for some people, when they come back, you can often experience some tightness across the chest and the abdomen, which you'll feel the resistance there, and that prevents you from coming back to a point where we can start to stretch the thighs and the hip flexors. So it's kind of like peeling back layers of the onion. So again, you come back to a point, you start to feel a little bit of resistance. So I can feel it there. Maybe I'll bend the arms a little bit more, and I feel it a bit deeper. Maybe, and then it becomes a little bit uncomfortable, so I'll just ease out slightly, and maybe take a deep breath. And as I breathe out, start to take that resistance again. Coming back up. So the hip flexors, the thighs, it's everything from being here and then coming back through to the position I was just in, where I'm sat on this bolster. I've got the blanket supporting the tops of the feet because that's a common area of tightness, and you don't want to be, when we're doing anything in yoga, we don't want to be in pain. You're going to have that feeling of resistance or stretch, but we don't want to be in the feeling of pain. When we go into pain, the body will tense up, the nervous system will think something's wrong, and then you can't get it to relax, to allow the body to stretch and release. And then the next one up from there, if you struggle to get down or you've got problems with your knees, we can bring the leg back to this point. And for if you're more in the chair position, you might even notice, you'd be sat here, you might even notice that this position alone creates the stretch. The tops of the feet are something to be aware of. It's something that we don't necessarily notice in our day-to-day, but it's quite common to get tightness there. Tightness in the body, anywhere in the body, is something we don't really want. So, but in this case, it can often prevent us getting, say, further down onto the ground, coming into a deeper stretch. But we can use props like the bolster or like the blanket to help prevent us from not being able to proceed. So just a couple of simple exercises that hopefully will be accessible. So we start off with a little bit of breathing. You could do that sitting or standing. So we're having a longer exhale than inhale. We do that for a couple of minutes. We can then go into the hamstring stretches. So the first example was sat on the chair, shuffled forward, legs straight, coming forwards, or if you don't have a strap, we're extending up, walking the hands down, leading with the chest, and then allowing the head to hang. If that's challenging, or if you don't have a chair around, another good one is to have the hands on, walk back, and allow the chest to sink. Or keeping the hands on, keeping one foot in front, and again, so we're leading with the chest, bringing the chest forwards, allow the head to hang. This is quite a good one in the sense that if you are near, depending on the height of the surface, you might be able to rest the head. So I'm feeling that sensation of stretch, but I'm supported, and I can maybe spend a few moments here relaxing. So the more we relax, the more the body will release and let go. And then we come up, and so you do the same on both sides. Probably be different on both sides. And when we're doing a lot of these stretches for the hamstrings, they'll be stretching the calf muscles as well. And then there's the alternatives for the hip flexors, the thigh muscles, and the side stretching, and side stretching with a deep breath in and out, coming back up, and then over, deep breath, and out, arms down. So hopefully that'll be of some help to you. So these are just some simple stretches that we can do where we're not getting into downward dogs, we're not getting into seated cross-legged. So if you do really struggle with tightness in the body because you're sitting for long hours of the day in your job, driving lots, then hopefully these are some simple exercises that you can explore at home to help alleviate some of the discomfort that will occur from that.